You at the Rantoul Village Board of Trustees, regular study session, December the 5th of 2023. Man, the year has just flown by. This meeting is now hereby called to order. And Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Smith.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
I'm here.
Trustee Robertson.
Here.
Trustee Kreider.
Here.
Trustee Hall.
Here.
Trustee Workman.
Here.
Trustee Weathersby. We have a quorum.
Okay. Folks, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I will draw your attention to the fact that we are going to, on item 14, on C through G, will be one discussion from the administrator, okay?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, very good.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion about anything that's on the agenda? All right, very good. Madam Clerk?
Trustee Hall.
Aye.
Trustee Workman.
Aye.
Trustee Wilson.
Aye.
Trustee Robertson.
Aye.
Trustee Kreider.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, very good. Thank you, Board. Next is public participation. Citizens wishing to address the village board with respect to any item of business listed on the agenda or any matter not appearing on the agenda are asked to sign up at the public participation form and submit it to the village clerk prior to the meeting. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes for each speaker. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone addressing us this evening?
We do not, Mayor.
All right, very good. Thank you. All right. Next are items from the trustees. And Mr. Hall, you said you had an item you'd like to talk about.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been approached, and I've noticed myself, been approached by a couple of residents, and through driving through town, I've seen the same thing. Question is posed, and can you all hear me okay? Should I take my mask off? Is that okay? Good. So the question is about businesses run at a person's residence, right? Assuming that the residence is zoned residential and not commercial. I guess that's the first piece of investigation. But I've noticed trucks and trailers, and I mean I'm talking about big trucks, big trailers, in driveways and on the streets, which one obstructs the view of drivers as well as pedestrians. So looking at safety. Also, I've seen, and I'm not on Facebook much, but I see on Facebook sometimes, folks I've oftentimes seen selling food, which again, a question about home businesses and so forth and safety. But then lately I've seen it seemed like alcohol being advertised for sale, whether it be the holiday, eggnog, or different types of, to me, appears to be alcoholic drinks. So I guess my question is how do we know whether or not it's not allowed to sell alcohol, but some of these home-based businesses, these trailers and so forth, how do we know if it's allowed, and what kind of ordinance or what do we do in these instances?
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee, for the question. So actually, there are a number of different factors when you talk about home businesses. First, let's talk about food and drink because that's the easiest. No alcoholic beverages can be sold from any establishment, residential or commercial, without a license. So if they do not have a license, then it would simply be illegal. And what I would strongly encourage, because the administrative staff is not all on Facebook, and some of those items don't make it to our community page. If anyone does see those, if you can forward those to us so that we can follow up and investigate those, we would appreciate it. When it comes to food, that is all regulated by the Champaign County Public Health Department. Now, there have been some changes in the state statute that allow for some types of home businesses relative to food, but they must comply with the Champaign County Public Health Department. And there are a number of households that have been contacted by the health department because they were not meeting all of the obligations under the state statute. So again, we would just simply suggest when you see those types of businesses, it's always better for us to know that those have been advertised, and then give us the ability to investigate those to make sure they're meeting all of the requirements. When it comes to other types of home businesses, some are allowed under our zoning, and I'll ask Mr. Milliken to speak to that. But again, very few, and there are regulations that have to be met in order to have a home business. And so I'll let Mr. Milliken speak to that.
Yeah, good evening, trustees. So in terms of home-based businesses, there's a couple factors that really come into play for food or non-food. The one would be whether anybody else is employed there, so nobody else can be employed there other than the owner occupant of the dwelling unit. And then in terms of how much of the space of the household or housing unit is utilized, I can't remember the exact percentage, but basically it has to be accessory to it being used as a house or as a dwelling unit. Those are the two big factors. In the ordinance, it doesn't specifically list types of uses. It bases on those factors of whether anybody else is employed there and then how much traffic is coming and going from the location. So it can't be a significant amount of traffic that would be different from a regular household are the two big factors that go into what can and can't be allowed. Most home-based businesses that we're aware of and familiar with are mostly done online and that type of thing. You can have like a one-chair beauty shop and things like that out of your household. When it becomes more noticeable is anything that has food related or anything that has tractors, trailers, other equipment that's parked outside. And those are things that we would then follow up on regardless of what might be known in terms of the internal factors of the household, because there is stipulations on where those can and can't be parked as well.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps a little bit.
That helps a lot. And so let's say I'm a small business owner, right? That's it, home base, but small business owner. I own a contractor company, right? So I have a truck and a big old trailer. Am I allowed to park those on the street and or in the driveway, or is it something? Yeah, I guess that's the question.
You can only park them in the street temporarily. You can park them in your driveway, yes.
Okay.
As long as it's an approved surface.
Correct, as long as it's on an approved surface.
So, but let's go back to the home-based business. All I have to do is just contact the village or.
Yes, if you are aware of a home-based business, it's always best to contact us, give us the opportunity to look into it and make sure that they are following all of the regulations that are required.
Perfect. Thank you.
No home dispensaries either? That's not.
Those are only allowed for personal use by the individual growing it, only to the limit allowed by state law. But not as a business. You are correct, trustee.
I have some other questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Along with those same lines, are there any ordinances about the number of vehicles that can be parked in a driveway and along the street? I know in my neighborhood, it seems like households have the driveways packed with cars and then also have vehicles parked along the street also.
As long as it's an improved surface, you are allowed to park whatever number of vehicles will fit on that surface. You cannot park in the grass in front of your home.
Plated though, correct?
And they do have to be licensed and plated, or what's called an operable vehicle. And then as long as parking is allowed on that street, then it doesn't matter who or how many of your vehicles are parked on that street.
Okay. That's your question?
Okay.
Trustees, any other questions?
Got mine answered.
Okay. All right. I will reiterate what the administrator said. We do get letters from the public health about people selling food on the Facebook, internet, that type of thing. And I've gotten many letters from the public health, Champaign County Public Health, of cease and desist order letters. And we make sure that the resident is notified by that. We send someone out from the code enforcement to notify them just in case they didn't get the letter or they just say they didn't get the letter. that type of thing, just to follow up and make sure that the public is protected from any home-based diseases and that type of thing by preparing food in the home. So that's the purpose of that, too. All right. Items from the mayor tonight, I have two, and these are good items. Folks, I want to encourage all of you, if you can, to participate. The first one is the Recreation Department Senior Christmas Luncheon. It's going to be held at the Gathering Place this year at 200 South Century Boulevard. It'll be on Thursday, December the 7th. That's coming up soon at 11:30. Andy and Luke would very much like for you to call and reserve so that they know how much food to order in advance. So the number is 217-893-5700. And you can call that number. And if seniors are listening tonight, please call that number and reserve your spot for December the 7th at 11:30. And that is the Senior Christmas Luncheon. And we usually have a pretty good turnout for this one. So come out and enjoy the good food and the camaraderie with one another, and we'll be glad to see you. Close to that is the Recreation Department Breakfast with Santa, and we start that one early. And so that's at 8 o'clock on December the 9th, still at the Gathering Place. We'll have a lot of kids there. We'll have a lot of families there. So it'll be a joyous time to share some fellowship, a good meal with people here in Rantoul, and get the Christmas atmosphere going, and hoping everyone has a joyous Christmas. Again, that number is 217-893-5700. Please call. Please make your reservations if you're going to attend either one of those events, and the same number can reserve a spot in either the Senior Christmas Luncheon or the breakfast. Okay, with that being said, that's the end of the items from the mayor. We'll move into items from the clerk. Madam Clerk, you have 3 items. Would you like to review those?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You have before you the minutes from the November 7th study session and the November 14th board meeting. If you have any corrections that you see or get with me, send them to me by my office. Otherwise, they will go forward as they stand. The other item, we're required by law to publish and adopt a schedule for 2024 for our regular meetings.
Yes.
All of those meetings are the normal first Tuesday of the month and second Tuesday of the month, except the January meeting.
Yes.
And that will be a combined meeting on the 9th, I believe is the date,
I think that's right.
of a study session first, so that the public has plenty of time to discuss everything. That will be adjourned, and then immediately following a board meeting. 2 reasonings. The third, I believe, or the second, would be the first Tuesday of the month.
Yeah.
That's right after the holiday of the 1st. The week before that is the week between Christmas and New Year's, and it would be difficult for the departments to get everything in.
Yeah.
So if you approve this schedule, then that would be a combined meeting in January.
Yeah. That's a meeting of the whole. And so we've done this before. It's a study session and then a regular board meeting, and it'll be the first meeting in January of 2024. So, all right. All right. Very good. Any questions, any concerns?
I guess I do.
Yes, go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor. So there's not an option for doing, having the study session on the 9th and then the board meeting on the 16th?
If you do that, then the meetings run very, very close together.
Yeah.
And there's only like a week to 10 days difference before you would be getting the next agenda together.
Sure.
And so if you do that, you're compressing that month.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it on the 2nd, you're compressing the month there. But it's at the pleasure of the board.
Sure, sure. I guess I'm thinking, and I understand compressing and just the way the dates fall. But, typically we have a week to kind of do our research and kind of let
Beautifully.
things marinate, mull it over. Here on the 9th, we won't have that. And,
No, but you'll get the information prior to that.
yeah, we'll get it on the Friday the 5th typically.
Right,
And then
right.
that gives us 1, 2, 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay. But But that's just my.
It's up to you guys. If you don't like it, we can change it, so.
It can be changed. That's just what the deputy clerk and I worked out based on what we've done in the past. The only thing is that once you approve it, then it is official.
Right.
You could change the dates, but you would have to issue a cancellation of the meeting and then a notice of the next meeting. So it would be best to have it prepared and adapted as you're comfortable.
Right. So that's why we're asking for the permission to go ahead and move.
How about a Wednesday,
Or-
Tuesday? Do it January 3rd.
When you set this schedule, you can set this calendar as you feel comfortable.
That can work. I'm okay with
We're
that.
just trying to stay with the Tuesday schedule. That's all we're trying to do. It's up to you guys.
Good. Either way.
I'm okay with Wednesday.
Oh, with Wednesday?
Yeah.
Anybody else would prefer to move it to Wednesday
Yeah,
in January?
I think that, yeah, and still give us, and then have the session, so move what to Wednesday, so that I'm clear.
Study session to Wednesday the
The
3rd.
third,
And
and
then
then
do the
do it
fourth.
on the 9th.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine,
All right.
fine with me.
Jerry?
Study session on the 3rd,
Uh-huh. Meeting on the 9th?
9th.
Yeah.
When I saw this, that's what my first thought was, that,
Okay.
we could probably have the study session on the 3rd.
Okay. Regina?
I typically teach Bible study on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
That was my other thought, that it
Lot of
might.
ch- lot of church
conflict with
services.
Church meetings on Wednesday night
Yes.
also.
Yeah, there is.
About move it to Thursday. That would give us a little bit, not much, but
Yeah.
From an agenda preparation standpoint,
Yeah.
you would have to be very sure of what you absolutely want done, because the agenda would have to be done on Friday.
Yeah. So we have that 48 rule, that
Right.
48-hour rule.
And it can be done that way.
keep moving
Just-
it around. We might as well just put them together.
Yeah. It's a meeting of the whole. It does work. It just, you have to do your homework before you get here.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll have the department heads here to answer your questions on the spot, both in the study session and in the regular meeting. So it takes the ambiguity right out of it.
And quite frankly, in January, we really don't have a whole lot of stuff
Right.
to really mull over, do we?
Typically, what you'll have is the audit presentation, and that would be it. Which you don't technically even vote on the audit presentation, you just accept it.
Those were my thoughts about it. First, I thought, okay, let's just move it to Wednesday, and then I thought, like Regina, if you do that, then you're going to run into
Yeah.
uh,
You're going through
Church
the same
meeting.
quandary that we went through when we put this together, okay? Yeah.
those were my thoughts
Y'all can
as
move
as
without
I
me.
looked at the schedule.
You can meet without me.
No, we can't.
Let's just
Regina,
go.
we wouldn't want to meet without you.
Not to.
Yeah.
Just do it all on the 9th.
We do it all on the
Hey, maybe we
9th.
need to go to your Bible
But all-
study.
And you're welcome to do that too.
So, given all the other, entities that go about probably doing it one night, we could probably get it done. I mean, we've been here
Couple years.
for a long time.
We've been here
For an
almost to
extended
midnight.
period for a night, for one night, but,
What's another?
it's not going to make any difference. I think we can get it done in one, that's my opinion. I think we can get it done in one night.
All right. Well,
That's my opinion.
there's a little bit of confusion now. So who wants it on Wednesday and who wants to stay with Tuesday and just do one meeting?
I'll
We
just
could do it in
meeting.
one meeting.
One meeting? All right, very good. The consensus is we'll do one meeting in January.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, board. Appreciate that. All right, very good. Next is items from Human Resources. Folks, you should have received your demographic report. I hope that you did. And there was information about village career opportunities in there as well. HR is not here tonight, so. All right, items from community development. The first one is an ordinance authorizing and approving an agreement for the sale of real estate owned by the village at 711 Chandler Road, which is Prairie Pines Campground. And Mr. Administrator, we have a presentation on that from the owners before they talk about this.
We do this evening, and so I'll let Mr. Milliken do the introductions, and then what you'll have before you in regards to this item is both the approval of the sale as well as a development agreement between the village and the parties which are purchasing the campground. And so we'll explain through both of those this evening, and I'll let Mr. Milliken do the introductions tonight.
Thank you, and good evening again, Mayor and trustees. So the agenda item provides for the sale of the village-owned property at 711 Chandler Road, which is a Prairie Pines campground. This property has been operated by the village's recreation department as a campground for 30-plus years. Prior to that, it was built as a mobile home park and operated as such on the former Chinook base. The property totals approximately 20 acres in size. Village staff recognize that significant investment is needed to be made to the campground property in the near future in order to keep it fully functional, thus recommending that the village entertain offers from the private sector to purchase and improve the property. The property was then publicly listed for sale, with the village issuing a request for proposals in August of this year. The village received 3 proposals to that request, with village staff then conducting interviews with each of those 3. The consensus of staff was to move forward with the proposal received from Rantoul Warehouse Group LLC, which in our minds provided the most complete proposal, including the most detailed plan for the improvement of the campground property and the upgrading of the infrastructure in the campground, as well as providing the largest monetary offer, and perhaps most importantly, that we feel the most comprehensive vision for how the campground fits in the continued economic development of this community. The property was appraised by the village in this fall as well. Just going into a little bit, and I think the representative of Rantoul Warehouse Group will go into some of these points. They have purchased property from the village previously. I think they're going to talk a little bit about that. That investment they've made into that property, and they also have experience in owning and developing a campground elsewhere. The buyer has agreed, and just going back to the ordinance for the sale, the buyer has agreed to a use restriction where they would operate and continue to operate it as a campground for a minimum of 15 years going forward. So even with the sale, even with the campground being privatized, we felt it was important that it was going to be understood that this is going to remain a campground, and they're supportive of that as well. So with those things said about the sale ordinance, I'd like to introduce Rantoul Warehouse Group, Mr. Crispin, if you'd like to come forward to make your presentation.
Hi. This? Oh, this is for the, yeah, that sounds good. So, first of all, good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks so much for having us here and the opportunity to do another big project together. I'll remind you guys, I was here about 2 years ago with another proposition of another property, and we'll hopefully you guys are happy with what we've done with it. Let's see. So Jens, he's my partner in Rantoul Warehouse Group. Along here is Jeff Young and also Kim Young. They're family, and they're also part of our vision here. They operate a campground over in Gibson City. We're going to also include that here, that we've essentially grabbed the campground from the ground up and show you what we're capable of doing on a different example, but just letting you guys know we started with absolutely literal like grass, right? It was a field. So let me start off here with who we are. So member credentials here is Countryside Campground. That's the campground in Gibson City. It's about 52 units. It's developed now to have a full service center. Basically, it has an event center. We host weddings. We host parties. We've even hosted conventions with the Gibson Hospital. So we've adapted to our market. We see that there was a demand for that. Originally, the vision was just to do a campground and have maybe like a place for kids to come and play, like a little play area. And then we realized that people were actually looking for a place to meet and party and have a good time. So we followed that vision, which is something similar that we want to do here. We have an idea of what we think Rantoul wants to do. However, by no means are those things concrete. What we'd really want to do is kind of really put our boots in the ground, talk to the people there, see what it is that it's lacking, and maybe develop it into a destination campground. Right now, it's mostly operated as a pass-through, which is fine. It does good doing just that.
Yeah.
But in our experience, there's a lot more potential with other things. Young construction, that gives us some credentials on the construction side, so we're capable of doing just about anything, foundations, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. We are licensed and insured to do just about anything that a campground would need from the ground up. We also own Crispin Auto LLC. That's a small car dealership in Urbana, but it also operates a body shop and a repair facility here in Rantoul now for about 5 or so years. It's right off 45, about the first building you can hit when you're coming on 45 to Rantoul. Zumex LLC, that is my partner Jens. He's currently with a cold, so he didn't want to spread the love here, so he's going to stay at home while I hold the fort. So this business does almost exclusive liquidation of assets, basically companies that either go bankrupt or businesses that are going to do a lateral move and maybe shift in business. They liquidate those assets. A lot of them are usually like warehousing stuff, construction stuff. So then there's Crispin Properties, which we do rentals, like small family units. We do warehousing, like small individual units. Rental warehouse management now does the inventory management primarily for Cap and Gown. Cap and Gown has hired us to be the primary inventory management for their business, and they're now here in Rantoul. And then Rental Warehouse Group, which is the business that bought. It's typically the business that owns the asset, develops the asset, and then it's operated by one of these other businesses. So to move on to the next one. This is just an example of what we can do. So this is a foundation, all the brickwork, all the cinder work, all that's done in-house. This is on First Street. If you guys go to Champaign, this is a pretty big deal. It's right on First and Springfield, a little bit south of Springfield. So that was Young Construction. This is a sorority house. Nobody has higher standards than a sorority girl in college, right? So standards are pretty high. It was well done. So we basically, what I'm saying is we can adapt to the standards of the market. We can do big construction, small constructions. We can also adapt to the budgets. Here, this is the Crispin Properties and Crispin Auto LLC. This is where the body shop and the repair facility is here in Rantoul. This is the Sumex LLC, liquidating assets, computers, all kinds of stuff. These are all businesses that we brought to Rantoul. They do not originate in Rantoul, but we found a good place to develop it, and it's gone really well. We do believe that Rantoul is a breeding ground for success at this point, and I have to believe that. I have enough invested in this place that it kind of can't go any other way.
Yeah.
This is a big project with it. So we partnered with the buyer of 300 Shell House. We developed it and had it currently leased, or it was leased by a company called Cabot Industries. It's a huge manufacturer of carbon black. It's essentially the tint that is used for rubber, for black tires or things like that. Unfortunately, the owner decided to sell the property rather than operate it. I'm not really in the market of selling warehouses. I like to acquire, develop, and manage. But this was a huge project. This was a project that was originally sold for the taxes. Then it was auctioned, and now it's for sale for, I think, $7.5 million. So we can scale it up. The next thing is, this is why we were here 2 years ago. Pretty much a box of screws, right? So it was 720 Galaxy, 721 Galaxy. This was a building that was at one point considered potentially a demolition project, right? We saw potential in this. We took it in the condition you see it there. We put a new roof. I think the next picture here shows a little bit of the conditions. Oh, that's Jens. Probably why he got a cold, honestly. But we put a new roof on that. We put a complete solar array. This is what it looks today. It's completely carbon neutral, has all electric forklifts, all LED and automated lights and all that stuff. So this is in about 2 years. It took us a little bit to kind of develop it, just because originally we had a vision to use it as RV boat and storage. While we were developing the exterior, we got in contact with inventory management for Cap and Gown. They're the ones that kind of pushed us. It's like, hey, how about this? What if we give you the opportunity to manage all of our inventory? Now, they were using a company that was next door to them in Arcola. In Tuscola. They're in Arcola, not the facility in Urbana, or the one in Champaign, but the one in Tuscola. They closed down that facility to move to Rantoul. It was a huge move. It wasn't a lateral move. It was a big investment for them, and it was for us too. So we developed the interior to manage all of their space. They have fabrics. We now have 4 permanent positions there. We established an IMS system, which is essentially an inventory management system. And my brother, we're a family business too here. I try to always partner myself with extremely capable people that can do what I can't do. And I've been very blessed with that. And my brother manages their inventory. And this is kind of what it looks like inside today. Just a lot of boxes for cap and gown, raw materials for developing. This is a little project we did too. This is next to the Jesus Inn. A lot of people didn't even know it was there, but I swear probably everybody here drives it right past it once a day. This is a little shop directly next to the Jesus Inn. Primarily, they focus on helping ex-convicts that are typically nonviolent get them back on their feet. This is what we did with it. We're turning it into a repair facility and hoping that we can partner with them to give positions for ex-convicts that want to enter the job field by giving them some credentials. So basically, we usually would have like a 6-month contract with them to give them hey, now you can use this as credentials to get a job, and so on. So we will, we are in the business to make money, so it will be a profitable business. It's not a non-for-profit, but I do believe that you don't have to do things not for profit, to help. I really do want them to see this as an opportunity and credentials that are real, that they can say, I really did work for this business and I was useful there, and this is my credentials to move on with, or hopefully change their lives. So now going back to the campground subject, this is what Countryside Campground looks like. It was originally just a few acres of farm field. We developed into 52 units. The bottom right picture is what the event center looks like. There's a big pond with a fountain. There's paddle boats. It became kind of a destination campground. We knew we were very limited by traffic. Not a lot of people just pass through Gibson City. But we do manage to keep it busy and profitable. So if anybody is looking for a place to have a wedding, we'll love to have you. But that is our primary bread and butter. There's a lot of events there. There's weddings, there's parties, Father's Day week and stuff. We're going to have our Christmas party there for sure. We had it last year, I think. This was our party there, Chris Pinato. So we host our business parties there as well. This is your campground, right? So this is Prairie Pines. By no means is it a small project. It's 21 acres, so significantly larger than what we have, twice the units. But I do believe that there is a flaw in its, I guess, future objective. The business was originally developed for trailer parks, so the infrastructure reflects that. They're usually not built to last, and of course it has kind of ended its lifespan. There's a lot of infrastructure issues, and I think we can help. Our vision is to do a complete rehab similar to what we did over there, where we put a big pond and nature walks, and if the market would reflect it or demand it, we would do an event center. And I think so this is kind of what our vision would look like, a very simple design of an expansion of units. We want to put about 15 to 20 more parking spaces what are they called? Camping spots. And primarily for winter parking. We are partnering with Chad over at the B-52 hangar. They have a lot of traffic during the winter for their motocross, and most of that community travels with RVs, but they have nowhere to stay. So we want to accommodate their winter operation, and since the location is almost directly next to it, we want to also accommodate their transportation back and forth. We kind of want to make a business out of staying. Where are they going to stay? They're usually staying in Champaign. The Rantoul motel market is usually pretty saturated, so there's not a lot of options there. So this is a small kind of rough idea of what we want to do. So of course we want the infrastructure to be repaired and rebuilt, which is going to require, I'll have an actual thing for that to show you what we believe after our assessment are things that it's going to need. We want to add 20 to 30 sites. We want to put a Wi-Fi infrastructure with really good fiber optics, complete rehab of the shower house. So new roof, new siding, new flooring, laundry, hardware, lighting, ramps, windows, fixtures. Really easy way to make people really happy is giving them a place to shower. And it's not very expensive to do, but it goes a long way. New road markings, signs, gravel refresh, night lighting. That was a big problem there. Tree grooming and landscape, that's something that you guys have done very well. We would just kind of maintain that. We believe that a new pond and sidewalk with a perimeter and a fountain and all that stuff would really attract a little bit more of a destination campground. We want to put some landscape, want to put paddle boat operation, and yeah, I already said the nature walk, but that's kind of his big forte. Is his. If you saw the other campground, I'm kind of more like the brute person that just tells you like this is the dimensions. He's the one that really makes it look pretty. You know, but he really has a passion for that. I think it's the whole camping thing. It's truly a passion for him. For me, it's an investment. I'm not gonna make it any. I love camping. I do enjoy it, but I'm not going to retire camping. He already did, and so he operates this business and he's successful at it. This is why our partnership works really well. So a fenced-in dog park, solar array to be carbon neutral. We're thinking of an outdoor movie theater. We've interviewed some people and asked some people there what they would like to do, what their future there would look like if it could get better. That was one of the things. Some activities during the weekends. Set transportation services from the sport complex. So about 10 to 20% of the traffic between of the available spaces, which ends up being about 50% of the total spaces, end up being used by the sports complex traffic. The problem is there is no transportation back and forth. So you haul a big camper with a big truck and you got to unhook it and then drive back and forth. Some people just decide not to bring their camper at all. What we want to do is we want to create a transportation service that goes between the different entertainment businesses in Rantoul, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the long-term vision. Just want to kind of plant a seed there so you guys would understand that's part of our proposed vision. We also like the business of tiny homes and renting like Airbnb, places where people can stay for the night as opposed to like just staying in a hotel, but a place where they can go and put up a bonfire and interact with other people. Depending on its performance, we probably increase it after a year once we realize whether or not it's a good investment. I do believe it would work, but prudency is what's gotten us here. So these are some demographic studies of the area. We did some market analysis on the projects or on the statements and stuff like that. So 40% of the bookings are pass-through businesses. That's very good, but it should be lower. People should be coming through to stay here. Pass-through means someone's driving down the interstate, got a flat tire, or needs somewhere to sleep. That's a pass-through business. We want people who are like, hey, we like to camp at that campground every weekend, all year long. So 40%, it's still a good amount, but I'd like to make that closer to 20%. 5% are local, so the locals aren't really using it. Very few people from Rantoul actually go there, and less than that even know we had one. So that's something to keep in mind is I want to improve that. I want people to realize it's there. I want activities there. I want people to go there for movie nights or, I don't know, just hanging out there with a bonfire and getting to meet each other. 90% of the people there are adults without children. That's not a bad thing. That just means that's our market, right? So that demographic doesn't generally want very loud entertainment. At one point, we thought that partnering with the paintball operation or maybe the Chad with the B-52 for an outdoor opportunity was there, but I don't think that would work well. So we're kind of catering more towards like bingo night and having these little easy things to do that are still enjoyable, not high commitment. But the number one complaint was the absence of reliable Wi-Fi. Who would have thought, right? But yeah, people want to stay connected, and we want to. It's an easy thing for us to do as well. We've already talked to Volo about, developing that there, and it's not very expensive, and it's very applicable for the area. The quiet enjoyment is the number one compliment. It's quiet there. They're not bothered. Nobody goes out. There's not a lot of noise. There's not a lot of traffic. So 57% are dedicated to seasonal. That's very good. Better than most places. I'd like to increase that because that's the bread and butter. That's the essentially like the foundation of that business. The more you have the seasonal campers, the more you can develop the infrastructure. And we already have 45 people that are interested in reserving for next year. Big issue that they have is no night parking. So right now the infrastructure doesn't accommodate anybody coming in at night. That's a big problem. You can't have a campground and people can't show up after sunset. It's there's a lot of delays and nothing ever goes as planned, right? So people do show up at 11 p.m. or midnight and it creates havoc. There's a lot of issues with heating other camper or heating infrastructure, heating signage. So we want to improve that. We've had a lot of backup in the sewer units. That's normal. The infrastructure is old. It's inevitable. I mean, that's probably a problem that you'd have even when the infrastructure was new. But we're just getting that mostly because the infrastructure is deteriorating and it's clay tile, so it's going to have to be updated. And it's becoming more and more of a frequent problem. Tenants request this is what they want to do. They want to do nature walks, bingo, movie nights, community bonfires. Not very demanding, just little things that they want to do that nobody really is there to do because there is no direct person that benefits from its performance. And that's why maybe privatizing it to somebody like us that we have experience operating, I think we can make it more of a destination campground. And we're also held accountable. We've already negotiated or are in the process of negotiating a very solid and concrete development agreement so that these things are actually going to happen. So these are the infrastructure improvements: sewer systems, clay tiles. A lot of the drains are located in the center of 41 spots. That has to be moved. But that means is usually when you camp, your drainage should be to the side of the camper because this was originally for a trailer park. They're in the middle, right? So that means like a person that parks there has to crawl under his camper to put the sewer lines into the drain. That's not a thing. Like, I've never seen that before. I can't believe it's worked so far for so long because people have accommodated for what you have. You do have mature trees and a beautiful spot, but that is like not a thing you want, a retiree to be doing in the middle of the night. So we will improve those things. There's electrical issues with delivery, maybe not sufficient transformers. Some receptacles are out of date, so those need to be updated. A lot of plumbing issues. We've already talked a lot about with the city engineer about how we can improve that. A lot of the plumbing is at the end of its lifespan, so a lot of that needs to be improved. The general things would be rock and gravel renovation and lighting to improve night parking. These are the basic things that we'd like to do just to continue operating in the way that it is right now, maybe making it a little bit easier, but also at the same time aesthetically better. The timeline, if you guys have any questions for this, it's very simple. We plan to do acquisition between November to December 1st. Well, we're already behind that, but what good is a project if you're not starting already late, right? That's part of the charm. So repair and updates are supposed to start, and at the rate that we are, can very well happen. We want to do the rehab of the entire bathhouse between January 1st and March 31st. So we want to open with a brand new, renovated bathhouse. I like to call it the Taj Mahal, and I will hold up to that. I love that stuff, so I can be a vision to that. We want to rehab the water, sewer, and the lighting. That'll be ongoing throughout the year. We'll probably shut down a site at a time just so that we can improve it without interrupting the business. Next year, when we are closed, around when we are closed, that's when we want to do the tiny homes and additional units. Dog park solar array will be for 2025 at this point. And then possible expansion. So we have some other conversations to talk about the expansion project, but this includes the transportation network. So this is our budget that we have already secured for what it would look like if we acquired it. It would be, we already did the analysis and the infrastructure evaluation, but the plumbing in the $200,000 range, electrical, rehab, the solar project's about $212,000. Gravel, in addition of 20-30 sites, about $70,000. That'll be an ongoing kind of expense just because gravel just high maintenance stuff. The pond and the nature walks about $165,000. We want to improve the playground that is there, about $35,000. We want to build cabins, tiny homes, approximately a couple $100,000. Public transportation shuttle. So we have a shuttle already, and I have pictures of that, and I think it would be pretty cool. But we also want to do a golf rental business, mainly to accommodate a lot of the events that you guys already have in the base. Also, transportation between people who want to come and camp at the campground and they want to participate at the sports complex. A conversation to have is how can we make that safe? Can we rent golf carts from there that can drive safely over there? Can we stay off of any major roads, and can we make some signage to accommodate that? Those are all conversations that we've already started, and depending on what you guys decide, maybe we can move forward. Paddle boats and a dog park. Let's see. So this is our offer. So our offer is to purchase the land for $300,000. It goes right along with the current market value for most of Rantoul's real estate for grass. Essentially, that's what we would be buying the land, 21 acres. The purchase price of the business would be $200,000. This would include all non-permanent structure, the client list, any kind of contracts that reflect airport operations. Anything that is currently making the business money, like the online website and all that stuff, that's what we would pay another $200,000 for a total of $500,000. And the last thing would be a lease to own agreement. I understand that the property next door isn't yet released from the FAA. So our proposal is to acquire it, and that's where we're going to develop the camp, or the pond, and the nature walks, and the dog park, and all the different examples I gave earlier. That would be for $100,000. And then this is our funding. This is where we secured it. Just some information you guys can relate to in the future if you guys want to call and confirm anything that we've talked about here. So the grand vision, right? So this is the big deal for me. What this would look like in 5 years. So I'm a big race. You know, we're if you notice, my business is in cars. We do racing. We participate in racing. My ideal. This is my retirement. You know, he's camping. I'm operating an indoor go-karting track. That's my thing. I would absolutely love to be able to build one here. I think there's a huge vacuum of entertainment, or like family entertainment things to do here, right? You have a trampoline park in Champaign that literally just has a trampoline indoors, and it makes a fortune because people need something to do. I really think we would kill it with a electric go-karting operation. We have the land, we have the space, we have warehouses, and we would cater to exactly that. We want to partner with Chad. We already have, in many ways, we actually operate a warehouse together. We are partially storing our inventory in his building right now, but we'd like to do 30 to 40 dry camps for the hangar facility for his operation during the winter, but at the same time also accommodate people who want to travel to do go-karting or to do more activities, so they can come and do motocross and afterwards come go-karting, right? Same thing as all the kids that come play at or go do sports at the sports complex. There's really not much else for them to do. There's no arcade. There's no real big entertainment thing. They go to Champaign for that. But now you don't have to. You can come here. You can use your little go-kart that you rented from us at the campground that you're staying from us, and you go to the go-kart track. So we give you like a coupon where you can just go. It's kind of full circle then. And then we want to operate a shuttle service from the sport complex to the campground, to the kart track, to the B-52 hangar, and to University of Illinois. So that way we can actually bring in our own clients. We want to pull those students from U of I, get them to come here. We already have the licensing to do it. It's just kind of like making it come full circle. And then all you guys would get free entry. No, maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But yeah, this would be what it would look like. We have a history in racing. It's a passion project for me. This is our little race car there in the bottom left, and we love that stuff. We travel really far to do it. But yes, that's what gets me here is there's a really big lack of winter activities. I think the shuttle service would bring that. And ultimately what I'd like to do is create like a small network. Like those kids are going to want to go eat somewhere, right? So we partner with restaurants that want to also maybe contribute to that route, I guess, and then we'll just, have a little star running around town picking people up from the sports complex to get them to a restaurant to go eat, and then afterwards they can go go-karting and eventually end up back with their parents if they want to, I don't know. But yes, that's kind of what it would look like. So shuttle service, we acquire these as part of the things we liquidate for other businesses. A lot of times those businesses are city municipalities. So we've acquired a lot of these, and we can outfit one of these for exactly that. This would just kind of create an incentive for destination camping. Somebody comes here and says, hey, I can camp here. If my kid wants to go go-karting, he can jump in the shuttle and go go-karting and then come back sunset. We can accommodate all that stuff. The paintball operation could do the same. So those are all just kind of ideas that we can really grow this to. That's pretty much it. That's my presentation. If you guys have any questions, that's why I'm here.
All right, board, this is your time for any discussion on this topic. Any questions for Mr. Crispin?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you. That's so impressive, and it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
I love looking at the vision and hearing the passion in your voice. I might be dating myself, but is a outdoor theater
Yes.
a drive-in?
I don't want to make it like a park drive-in. It would just be like set up for people to park and sit somewhere like in a little display area, like a stage area.
Golf carts.
Yeah, that's where it's
Oh, okay. Right.
Can't park. Yeah, you can't watch the movie without a golf cart. Well, we can rent you one.
So
But yeah.
so just outdoor.
It would be outdoors, 100% outdoors.
Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really do think that fits the demographic there. I think that's what people want to see. They want to enjoy. Honestly, the movie, it's just an excuse for people to get together.
Come together.
It's not really the main source. It's just people want things to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Go ahead.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I'm excited about the tiny house homes.
Yes.
I think that that would be a great attraction. I'm an Airbnb fan, so
Yeah.
I think that it's a great market for Rantoul. Your vision and your passion, really came through, and we're excited about what you're going to do with the campground. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other trustees? Comments or questions? No? Go ahead, Terry.
What, your timeline for the initial campground is like at the end of next year. Is that correct?
It depends on what phase. Yes.
The first phase?
The first phase will be just the renovations of the bathhouse. That'll be done this year. So as soon as we agree, which I've signed my part, now it's your turn. But if we do agree, we would acquire it early to be able to start that while all the paperwork and all that stuff is started. We've talked about a early possession so we can start that, so we can be ready to open April 1st. That's really the main thing, to be able to open and have a really transitional way of people just being familiar with it. All it's going to be different is going to be a really nice bathhouse, and then we're going to start doing the other infrastructure. That could take till 2025. So it'll be all next year, throughout the year, we'll be working on it. It's a lot of stuff we can't do in the winter, obviously, all the plumbing and stuff like that.
Right.
So the people coming in that have been coming in here for years will be able to use the campground this coming year?
100%, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was I,
Yeah, we'll be ready to open April 1st for sure.
Okay. And you're also picking up the contract from I&I, the
I'm not familiar.
Farm Progress?
Yes, Mayor. So during our negotiations, we've had conversations. We've also talked to members of the executive board of the Half Century of Progress show. So once an agreement is made by this body to sign the agreement, then Mr. Crispin has agreed to meet with them and have conversations with how that will work, not just in regards to their shows, but also other opportunities.
Good.
Acronym.
That's
Well,
all
yeah.
right. That's all right. They have quite a few of those.
Yeah.
So. All right. Board, any other questions or concerns that you have? All right. Very good. Mr. Crispin, thank you for your presentation.
Appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And Board, thank you for your consideration. So we'll move into item B now. There's a resolution approving and a development agreement between the Village of Rantoul Warehouse Group, LLC, which was just here, in conjunction with the sale and development of the real estate at 711 Chandler Road.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with the approval of the sale agreement, that gets us to the point of sale, but as he articulated in their vision, obviously making sure that we as the village get those things that we want out of it. This is what the purpose of the development agreement is, post-sale, to ensure the obligations that we have put forth are met in terms of their development, and then any obligations they have for us. So that's what the development agreement is before you. The only pertinent, I think, obligation of the village that was agreed to relates to the water system itself. The water system out there is not currently metered. So it would be our obligation to put in the water meter, the RPZ valve and the check valves as part of getting that water service metered to the campground. They will be building the building. That's part of their obligation that would house the meter. I think it's going to be used as a storage shed, if I understand their intents correctly. So that would be our obligation to get done as part of the sale to ensure. But their obligations, obviously, they're going to take over all the road and utility infrastructure on site. All utility charges would be their responsibility at that point. And then it also lists under the developer's covenants the undertakings and the timelines for those undertakings. So to Trustee Workman's question, there is an obligation to get the bathhouse done and to get those infrastructure improvements done within a certain period of time. So that's what the development agreement spells out. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. So now that topic is open for discussion, trustees. Anyone?
Pretty self-explanatory.
I'm sorry, Gary?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it is. Anyone else? I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Board. We'll move this forward then. All right, I don't have anything from the fire department, all right. Items from recreation, I don't have anything there. And so items from public works, and Jake, the first one is they authorize the purchase of 1,500 feet of 350 MCM CU wire from Annexer, is that it?
Yes, sir.
In the amount of $40,575. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, trustees. This item is to be just a normal purchase for the electric department to acquire some copper wire in the amount of 1,500 feet of 350 MSM copper wire that will be used on Century Boulevard from the Chandler substation to the Rantoul Business Center as another backup feed there. So it's just replacing some older, outdated wire. And we did get multiple quotes. I have attached the lowest bid, which was Annexter, and it's just a normally budgeted item coming out of the electric fund. Any questions?
They have the material.
Oh, nope, I didn't say that. It won't be delivered until June 2024.
Okay.
I guess I
Sam,
have one.
go ahead.
Is this, seems like we purchased wire, is this the same wire?
No, not necessarily. This is a little bit different gauge wire than the last time.
Yeah.
And this is going to be used for repairs or just in case?
It's to repair a line.
Okay.
Trustees, any other questions or concerns? None? So since this is copper wire, is it protected from theft?
If they get into it, they're
Okay.
They'll pay the price if they get into it.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. All right, anybody else? Had to ask the question, it's worth a lot of money. So, anyone else? All right, very good, the board will bring that forward. The next one is authorize the purchase of switchgear equipment for the Prospect Substation, upgrades from PowerCon Corporation in the amount of, hang on, $1,838,115.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Jake.
This is in reference to the Prospect Substation upgrades project that we've been talking about over the last 6 months. Again, this is the project that we brought to you that BHMG Engineering had designed.
Yep.
As part of that project, they have come to us and said that it would be their recommendation that we purchase the switchgear at this time, so that because it's a long lead time item as of 2 years, so we will we went and solicited bids. Again, if you have any questions, this substation is the one that only had one transformer. We have another transformer that we already have in place, and we're going to upgrade it to where we have both transformers working at once so that Rantoul Foods in that area will have plenty of capacity in the future. Just to refresh your memory, but this, again, went out for bid, so we solicited bids, and those were opened on November the 2nd, and the lowest bid was, again, from PowerCom Corporation. We did get two other bids, which were significantly higher. One was a couple $100,000 higher, and the other one was almost double. So we did see a wide variety of the amounts, which is a little concerning. But the bid tabs are attached. There is a recommendation letter from BHMG also that goes over their thoughts on the each bidder, and they went through each bid and made sure that they were following all the specifications, the details, the standards, and to ensure that we were hiring the best outcome here. So again, that was about $500,000 over the estimate, though, so that will have to come out of the contingency fund. So just prices everywhere we're looking, especially in the electric area, just every time we look, they go up. So it's unfortunate, but this is a very much still a very high magnitude project in the need. So It's a 2-year lead time, and it was a budgeted item.
Okay. That's what I'm comfortable with, is it's in the budget already.
Do you have any questions about the project or what we're trying to get accomplished?
Okay.
I have a question, Jake. I know that we've had some problems with power outages out there. Can you give them an idea of when power does go down out at the industrial park, what it costs these businesses hourly or daily? I know sometimes it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're losing, so people have an idea of that as well.
I don't have that exact number off the top of my head, but it's a significant amount that they're losing in business and revenue.
And we're losing.
Right, both sides.
Randy's also here tonight in
I was
case.
just going to say, it's not only the businesses, but it's us also that are losing. I mean, it's by the minute, basically, with the load that we get from the industrial area. So
The next item is basically discussing the outages that we've had recently also. So
All right.
we'll get into the more details about the recent power outages with it.
Trustees, any other questions? What about power supply to the developments that are happening on the west side? Is this going to supplement that in some way?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your
The
question.
power that'll be needed for the developments that's coming on the west side, will this help supplement the power needs that we have out
Really,
there?
this will just be helping the industrial customers. I mean, it really won't do much besides all of those.
Okay, so that's still
Ensuring-
another item to come.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions, trustees? I'm seeing no other questions. Any objections to bringing it forward? Okay, very good. Let's move to item C. And Jake, the next one is authorize the purchase of a three-phase 12 MVA 13.8 kV 69,000 kV pad mount transformer from Sunbelt Salmon in the amount of $425,000. Please discuss that with us.
Okay. So we have some unfortunate news. You know, we were wanting to get this project going as fast as we could, and obviously we were in a dire straits before this happened. But on November 15th, that very transformer that we're depending on right now, it failed and it blew up. So we immediately, well, I'll let Randy kind of go into like what actually has happened since then.
Okay.
So after that had happened, we was able to switch everything over to another substation. Unfortunately, that substation transformer is smaller than what we was using, so we have it maxed out right now.
Okay.
But we're able to keep everybody on. Through the IMEA and others, we searched for somebody to have a spare transformer, which either the transformer is too big, not the right configuration, whatnot, but we did have various different communities calling us, Ameren, whatnot, and just out there to help us. What we've done is we've taken a smaller transformer that's a spare from our east substation, which is out by the old Walmart, and we have moved it into the place of the one that failed. And we're having to do some pretty much major configuration to make this fit and work. But the guys are on it. They're getting it done. Hopefully we'll have it back up by Friday. The Sunbelt, they reached out to me and they said, we have something in our yard that says that will fit what you need. We can have it to you in, I believe it was 22 weeks. It's supposed to ship May 5th of 2024. So that's what we're presenting tonight, is that transformer. Other companies, they was 2 years out. It was just astronomical. They're getting this transformer put together for us, and so we felt that this is something that we need to bring and get it coming as soon as possible. The transformer that we are putting in place will not hold the whole load of what the substation held before. So we're just putting partial load on this, mainly Rantoul Foods.
Okay.
And Beauty Quest will be on this transformer that we're putting in place. So we're still not out of the clear until we get the new transformer, but we feel safer once we have this taken care of. I'll just put it this way. If the transformer that we have everybody on now fails, we're
SOL.
thank you. I didn't know how to put it, but we'll be in a world of hurt. So we're working as fast as we can to get this one in place, and the one that we're putting in place from East Sub, and we're just presenting this to. I know it's a lot of money, but it'll all pan out in the long run.
Okay.
Believe me.
Okay, Sam, you
Thank
have a
you.
question. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, it is a lot of money, but you got to need it, right? You got to have it, I guess. I think I got something confused. So the one that we see, the one that you're proposing that we purchase now today, will that fix the problem, or are we still going to need?
That
Sounded like we needed something.
that
else
will
fixed.
fix the problem.
Okay.
That transformer that we'll get is the same size, same everything as what the one that was failed.
Okay.
So that'll fix the problem that we've had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gary, go ahead.
So a lot of times, I think we're guilty of being reactive instead of proactive. So I'm going to go for the proactive side. So if we get this in next year and we get this fixed, my thinking is we need to have another one on standby for a backup in case we have another problem. Is that budgeted item, or is that something to think about, or can we get a second one coming 6 months after the fact? Or we don't have that problem.
The switchgear project that we're doing and the $4 million updates that we're doing to that's what that is.
Okay.
We're making it capable of taking 2 transformers instead of 1. So it'll be its backup, or
So we'll have this one then in next, you said May or something, what time frame, then the 2-year lead time, that will back
Yes.
everything up.
Yeah,
The
that's
one,
correct.
the one that failed
Yes,
is going to go in and get repaired,
okay,
and then when it comes back, we'll put it in place because we have actually 2 places for transformers at Prospect Sub. That'll go in place out there for the backup, and we'll actually split the load up once we get it.
okay, very good, thank you.
if it can be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got
So
it? Go ahead.
you said that we took one from the east side.
Yeah.
We're going to replace that. We're going to move, once we get the new one, we'll move.
Once we get the new one, that one will go back out to the East Sub.
Okay.
And that one's in place for basically any other smaller sub. It wasn't really made for where we put it, but
Sure.
it's made to transport to the different subs.
Small little, okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Jerry?
When we get this new transformer and get it in place, will we have enough energy or source of energy for new development across the interstate?
Yes, and that's part of the whole other project we have going on at Prospect Sub. When we get them both back in place, then we'll have 24 kVA worth of power out there versus 12. So
Wow.
we're doubling our power once we put the second one in place,
We're using about 12 now.
and we're using right at 12 now. So we got the transformer that's out there that actually failed is right at its max anyway. So that was a whole part of starting the other project with the new switchgear and another transformer and that. So
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry. So, because this number is just astronomical to me, are there any? Are there, along with a few others, are there any sources, any resources that can help us with the cost of these items? I fear the answer is no, but I got to ask.
Unfortunately, trustee, I think maybe you're thinking of state or federal grants. There just aren't any available for public utilities.
Big bag of money found somewhere, or
We
money
will
tree?
keep looking under every rainbow we can find.
Thank you. Okay.
Plenty of money. There's plenty of
We'll
money
find
for
it
solar
there.
if we want to
All
go
right.
solar. So.
Very good. Okay. Any objections to bringing this forward? Okay. We'll have it on the agenda. Next is item 14, items from the administrator. Mr. Administrator, the first one is A. It's an ordinance 2750, an ordinance amending Article 1 of Chapter 24 of the Personnel Code in connection with the employment policies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to the board. So I think many of you may have heard by now the state of Illinois passed what is called the Paid Leave for All Workers Act. This was approved by the state legislature prior to the end of their session and then signed by the governor over the course of the summer, making it a public act that becomes effective on January 1st of 2024. This act indicates paid leave benefits for many types of employees throughout the state. Currently, the village of Rantoul meets or exceeds those act requirements for all full-time staff. And so I just want to be very clear about that, that when we are talking about this particular state act, right now for all of our full-time staff, the village meets or exceeds what this law requires. I think you would also agree with me, it has never been an expectation that part-time or seasonal employees, and by that we're talking about lifeguards, pool attendants, concession workers, people who work at the sports complex, grounds maintenance laborers, program staff. We have approximately 200 part-time staff that work on an annual basis for the village of Rantoul. Never has it been an expectation of them, nor would I think of you, that they would receive any type of leave benefits. When this act was signed by the governor, not only is it important to talk about what the act language did include, but also what it did not include. And what it did not include was a preemption of home rule authority. The village of Rantoul is a home rule body of government, meaning you have certain rights in order to establish your own ordinances and resolutions. You are allowed to do that in any situation that is not preempted by state statute. Very clearly, when this language was approved by the state legislature and signed by the governor, no preemption existed prohibiting home rule authority from passing an ordinance that would allow us to provide our own benefits different from what is allowed by this state act. It should also be pointed out, and I provided to you some information regarding the discussion surrounding this particular act. As it worked its way through the legislative process, there was actually an amendment that had been proposed to, in fact, exempt home rule authority, and that never made it out of committee. So it wasn't as though this was an oversight. It was actually an act by the legislative body not to include a preemption. That being said, what you have before you then is an ordinance allowing the village of Rantoul, using its home rule authority, to opt out of the Paid Leave for All Workers Act. People have asked how much could this potentially save the village of Rantoul when you consider 200 part-time employees, assuming they were to receive the full 40 hours of paid leave benefit at an average of $15 an hour. You're well over $100,000 in savings that we would provide. Again, I want to be very clear. This does not impact any full-time staff whatsoever. Our full-time staff receive more than what this state law would require. Where this would have impacted us, were we not to opt out of it, is where it comes to our part-time staff. And again, I think the expectation has always been that part-time staff would not benefit from leave. With that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Our Corporation Counsel is also here who's familiar with the act. We're more than happy to take any of your questions at this time.
Okay. Board? Any comments? Questions? Pretty well self-explanatory? Okay, very good. We're good with it. Let's move on to the next one, which is item B. Ordinance 2751, an ordinance levying taxes for the 2023 tax levy year. Mr. Administrator?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And to the board, the good news is I am not going to rehash my presentation from a month ago. I will simply say this. Is there an increase in the levied amount that we are requesting? Yes, there is. That was the reason for the public hearing that we held earlier this evening at 5:45. That increase really is predicated upon the increase that has been requested by the public library, as well as what is required for our annual contribution to fund the police pension fund. Outside of that, when you look at the dollar amount that has been proposed for levy, taking that against what we believe to be the projected equalized assessed valuation, there would be no increase in the property tax rate paid by our citizens next year. With that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Well, that's good news. So you guys have any questions?
Yeah, well, just to confirm,
Go ahead.
we won't know the actual rate until about May.
That is correct. So typically around the end of April, if not by then the beginning of May, we'll receive from the county clerk's office what the final assessment will be. They usually release a projected in the fall, which that's what we base this upon. There was typically an adjusted sometime around January, so we'll get notification of that. And let me just rephrase, that adjusted is if there are any significant pending appeals. And then, of course, the final is released to us sometime in April or May. So you're correct. We could be slightly higher. We could be slightly lower than where we were. But typically, to the credit of the county clerk's office, they've been pretty accurate with their projections.
Either way, it wouldn't change what we're doing, what we're
Correct.
going to do next. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or concerns? I see none. Okay, so then we'll bring that forward. Mr. Eisenhower, I'd like to turn it over to you now from items C through G. If you would, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to the board. What you have before you are a series of abatement ordinances. And why this is important is because when you approve a bond, you are approving that bond to be secured as a general obligation bond. And what that typically means is the property tax is what is used to pay that bond unless you identify another revenue source specific then to offset that cost. If you do so, then you need to abate that ordinance so that you are therefore stating as a body, we are not going to put that burden on the property tax. Instead, it will be paid by a different revenue source. And so you have 5 of those before you this evening. I'll quickly go through them. The 2013A bond is paid out of revenue from wastewater. The 2015 bond is paid from revenues out of water, wastewater, and storm. The 2016 bond is paid from revenues out of corporate, storm, water, wastewater, local motor fuel tax, and the Economic Development Corp Fund. 2019's bond is paid for out of wastewater, and the 2020 bond is paid for through the sports complex. So what you are saying by agreeing to abate those ordinances is we will not put them on the property tax. Instead, that will be paid by other revenue sources. Were you not to abate these, then all of those current obligatory expenses would go against the property tax, and we don't want to do that.
Do we use any of the TIF funds for this to do this with?
You would only be able to do that, trustee, if in fact the project itself were eligible for TIF funding and in a TIF district. And so, as you know, the 2013A is, and so we do use some of the TIF funding for that.
not seeing anything, so we'll bring those forward.
Thank you. And that's all I have this evening.
Council, everything? Anybody have any questions for council? All right, very good. Thank you, Dave. Board, we need to go into closed session. So I need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1 to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of an employee. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second, Kreider.
Madam Clerk, did you get that, or do you need clarification? Got it? Yeah, is there any discussion?
All right. Trustee Robertson?
Aye.
Trustee Kreider?
Aye.
Trustee Hall?
Aye.
Trustee Workman?
Aye.
Trustee Wilson?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We're in closed session.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. I'm glad you